I think he has an idea of maybe not exactly where he's going, but what it looks like for him out there. The Atlanta thing's been percolating for a couple of weeks. It's really flipped on Arthur Smith maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I guess he's just fired.
They've just fired Arthur Smith.
Okay, so like this was the last 2 or 3 weeks. This has been percolating. It looked like Arthur Smith was safe. Arthur Blank has been sniffing around Jim Harbaugh and Bill Belichick over the last couple of weeks. That's what caused the rumors to spin. There was a thought maybe that he would hold on to Arthur Smith, and then if he could land one of the big fish, go with them. Otherwise, stick with Arthur Smith. I think there's been some back channeling here. Obviously, Tepper has the relationship. I think geography will play into this, but certainly I think that Bill has had his wheels turning too.
Okay, Chris, how do you expect this to go in the coming days? They're going to meet. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that to what? Well, you tell me. What do you think? How's it going to play out?
Yeah, I think the meeting is maybe, this is just my opinion at this point. I went in today thinking this could go a little longer. Now I'm thinking after being down there and just the vibe and what you hear that it's going to go pretty quickly. They'll have the meeting, I think, and then maybe try and figure out how they want to present or spin this thing publicly. And then it gets spun, and then everybody's sort of moving on.
And that's it. We're not going to wait for a trade. We're not going to have a stare down. There's no border war. You got rid of Parcells. It was a big mess. When Belichick came here, it was a big mess. We're not going to have a big mess this time?
I don't think we are. Again, when I was on your show on Friday, I was thinking, okay, because there's two elements here, right? There's the decision and the execution of the decision, right?
Yep.
Decision is made. I think we all agree on that. The execution, I thought, would take a little longer. But to your point about the Fox thing, and again, just what you're hearing from being down there, it seems like both sides know what's up, and this is going to move faster.
Well, what's interesting is I just don't think a lot of people maybe assume that both sides knew this was going to end. I thought, that Bill might put up a fight. He was going to maybe make a case. He was going to go in there, and he was going to give Robert Kraft all the reasons why he thinks he should still be the head coach of the New England Patriots. It feels as if that might not be the case, that he almost is accepting his fate here. And so if that's the case, this deal should get done a lot faster.
Bert's texting. Bert is texting. What are you texting, Bert?
What's the old saying that a guy's only as loyal as his options?
Right.
So, that could be part of it. We've heard for weeks about how he's going to go in and make his case. I think Bill's probably got a decent idea of what his options are right now. I think he wants to coach next year. I think if there's an option outside of here, he'd probably take it if he considers the owner somebody he would want to work for. Atlanta's got a situation where they've got a roster that's ready to win if they can find a quarterback. Carolina's a little further away. The Chargers, I think, would be less appealing because of the geography of it. But, don't think for a second that Bill Belichick hasn't back-channeled some of this stuff.
That's how he got the job in the first place.
That's how he got the job.
He back-channeled the Patriots job. He had another job.
But everybody does. We can't.
Right? No. I'm not blaming him. He should be doing it.
He's good at it.
Yeah, he should be doing it. It's like if the Patriots weren't doing research on their own future over the last 8 weeks, that would have been malpractice. For us to sit here and pretend that they were all whistling bypass the graveyard for the last 2 months is asinine. And if they were, shame on them. You should be doing the work that you need to do for the eventuality that's going to happen in the beginning of January.
Do you think Bill Belichick still has successful coaching left in him, Chris?
Absolutely. I do. Whether he can make it work in Atlanta, I don't know. Like Bert said, they're a quarterback away. Maybe he brings in a veteran guy like Russell Wilson, another guy he hugged up and down after a game. But they do have a lot of talent there, and there's offensive talent. Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Jonnu Smith, who we traded there, had a pretty good season.
Yeah, reunited with Jonnu Smith.
Well, if there's anything Bill likes, it's being proven correct.
Okay, but this is my exact point, Chris. See,
yeah.
If he goes to Dallas, maybe
sure.
That's a ready-made team.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Atlanta. So he just showed Ted that he doesn't know what to do with Jonnu Smith. Arthur Smith, who just got fired, did. But that's the exact kind of thing that I don't think he's guaranteed success. Dallas, that would be fun. He should win some games. That's maybe the outlier. The rest of them, I think the game's passed him by. I've been saying this for 3 years. And I think I think the next place is about to find it out too.
I agree 100% with you, Michael. I just think I think if anything, he's the guy that you come in and just puts on the final touches. That's really all he is. So Dallas would maybe make the most sense. Potentially, I mean, after the way Philly played tonight, I don't know. Maybe the Philadelphia Eagles, that would be a good spot.
Howie Roseman would love that.
Can you imagine? I don't know. If you listen to Bill in his post-game press conference, he says, I just want to coach. I just want to coach.
Yeah.
I just want to coach. It's like, okay, so are you telling us that you don't want to do any of the, the personnel stuff? Is that your way of saying, really, you'd be happy just coaching at the end of the day? If that's the case, he'll have more options than he would.
Reid, right? Like, that's what Andy Reid did. Andy Reid left Philadelphia. And I don't think it would have worked if Andy Reid had stayed in Philadelphia and said, I'm giving up personnel control. But Andy Reid, when he left Philadelphia, just made that decision. I just want to coach. He went and got a general manager he trusted. He built out the scouting department. That did not mean he didn't have a say in picking the players. But he basically farmed scouting out and just said, I've done too much. I'm stretched thin. I just want to coach at my age. And he wound up being more successful in Kansas City than he was in Philadelphia. So I don't think it's beyond Bill Belichick to look at that and say, yeah, I want to have a say in picking players, but I don't need to be holding scouting meetings on Friday during the season. And I'm not sure a setup like that, changing that way, would have worked here. But if he goes somewhere new, he could do it. Yeah. Definitely.
And I'll just say just quickly on Atlanta.
Reid did it. Reid had a ton of power.
Quickly on Atlanta, the hardest part is already done for him. The offensive weapons are there. Yeah. He doesn't have to get them. That's what he's not good at.
The line is good.
They're already there. He just has to figure out the quarterback part.
All right. So final analysis. Aren't you stunned that it ended this way? I mean, I am. I'm not saying last week we knew it was going to. I'm talking about 3-4 years ago, last year. I never thought they'd bottom out. I thought at worst they'd middle out. That Belichick's, his floor was high, that you'd never have a horrible team because Bill was here. You were always guaranteed of 8-9 wins and at least contending towards the end of the year. That's the worst you would be. I was convinced that's the worst they were going to be. I'm stunned it got this bad, Ted. I'll start with you. How did it get this bad?
I think it got bad because he couldn't get buy-in, and that's the key with Bill. And I've always said stories long ago when he first got this team, and we went 5-11 in that first season. We weren't buying in that first year. It took him a while for us to finally get convinced that what he was telling us was working and worth it and worth going through it. He never got for Bill to work and to operate, he has to get buy-in, not only from the majority of the players, but from the key players, the quarterbacks, the most important players on the team have to buy in, or else the rest of the team wouldn't. And I don't think he had buy-in from this team.
And that was I thought that was misrepresented down the stretch, that the team is still playing for Belichick. Look, he still gets buy-in. Where was the buy-in when they needed it? They needed the buy-in in October. They start out 1-3. They have a series of winnable games, and they crap themselves pretty much every week. That's when Belichick needed his team, and his team quit on, I think, the quarterback more than him, but be that as it may, that's when the team did not buy in. That's when the team quit on the season, and that's when they needed them. These were plastic wins here at the end that they got.
I still think this is more about people, though. This is about the identification and development of people. They didn't develop a replacement for Josh McDaniels. They didn't develop a replacement for Brian Flores. They had to kind of have Mayo and Steve Belichick learn on the job there. And then you look at the draft picks. They draft Isaiah Wynn to be their left tackle. They draft N'Keal Harry to be their number one receiver. If you make these sorts of mistakes over and over and over again, eventually it's going to catch up with you, especially when you don't have great people like Tom Brady and Dante Scarnecchia and just all these people that covered up some of the mistakes in the past. It's just, again, they didn't develop people at the same rate that they had for the better part of 20 years.